what are you doing to the bidder today?
Well, it's a rabbit hole.
That voice you hear is Masa from next door. He wandered in just as I was starting to record for this episode, and I figured I might as well be recording our conversation. I filled him in on the current project, replacing the enormous factory hood struts with something more compact so that we could reinforce the area around the shock towers. I'll spare you the details since we covered all that in episode 1. Let's skip straight to the update.
But for that, to sort of come back out of the rabbit hole, I have to replace this hood strut with something else. And that's what I'm doing right now.
This is your solution right here.
Yeah, and so these are initially, so I did a little bit of math, and I think I got the math a little wrong, because I initially had a set of socks, which is nice. I mean, that's like, German, I don't know if it's German made, but at least a German brand.
The socks are pretty.
Yeah, sock struts that were for like a Lincoln Mark 6. So what's nice about that is that it's like, even though it was it's by today's standard, it's a pretty esoteric car. It's not like they're around all the time, but at least it's like an OEM part, and you can go out and get it.
You can order it off the shelf.
And I had it all. Kind of where I left off last week was that I had drilled and riv nutted that side and put that bracket on. So I made these brackets, and I'm glad that I had the foresight to put 3 different holes in, just to kind of give me a little bit of flexibility. And as it turns out, when I had the Lincoln Mark 6 struts in there, they're rated for 140 pounds each, and I came up with that number, actually with a little less. I came out, I think, with 120 pounds. I came up with that number based on some math, basically how heavy we measured how heavy was the hood at the latch, and then exactly you do the fulcrum thing. And so, but I think because we're picking up from a little farther behind, and when you think of like where the pivot is of the hood, and like it's not as straightforward. You don't have a straight shot.
Yeah.
Whatever. So they were barely strong enough, and so. Then I thought to myself, well, that's not really good, because as they will fatigue, then they won't be strong enough anymore. And I want something that's reliable.
Yes.
And so I went back on liftsupportdepot.com, which is a really cool site. I mean, like they don't give me anything or anything, but they're just I like sites like McMaster or Summit Racing or these guys when you can look for parts by dimensions.
Yes.
And because I knew my dimensions, like I had my, I could sort of tell how far could I go here, and then I knew where this would lay, and then I knew how far there and where they intersect. And so I found another strut. This is Strong Arm. It's kind of a cheapo brand, but at least it's still a brand. That is slightly shorter overall. It's shorter when expanded, but it's longer when compressed.
Yes.
And so I was really glad that I had this extra hole that was higher, and it's almost perfect, because now basically I'm not using the middle hole anymore. I'm using this hole, and that will just go in like that. And I already marked where I'm going to riv nut.
Yes.
Drill and riv nut this side.
I like how it's resting on the bottom too.
Yeah, exactly, and it's resting on the bottom. That's almost incidental, but kind of by design now.
Well, we better get on with it then. Here I'm finishing the passenger side riv nuts, aka nutserts. These are just such a joy to work with, especially when you want to install captive fasteners on blind panels like this. They're also so simple. A riv nut is in essence just a big pop rivet, except that they have threads inside, hence the name. All you need to do is drill a hole, stick the riv nut in, and then you use the special tool to squeeze them against the panel, just like a pop rivet. Once that's done, we can test fit our bracket and the strut. And the driver's side is already done and assembled, so now it's really time for the moment of truth.
I am removing the broom handle. Voila!
Great. I didn't get a hood falling on my fingers, and that's always a plus. Before we go any further, let's see the mechanism in action from the inside, just to make sure everything's working. You can see the strut and the hood hinge arm got quite close to each other here, and in fact, they were rubbing, as we could tell from the witness marks. Nothing a few well-targeted applications of the rubber mallet couldn't solve, though. Let's look at it from another angle. One thing you'll notice here is that when the hood is closed, you can see daylight showing through the cracks. That's because the strut is pushing the hood up even in the closed position. We were able to fix that by moving the hood on the hinge arm mounting holes. You can see here the millimeter or so of adjustment underneath the hinge arm, and that really was enough to make most of that gap disappear. With all of that sorted, time for a lick of paint and final assembly. I'm applying Loctite to all the fasteners to make sure they don't rattle themselves loose. And that's really it. One completely over-engineered hood strut solution, all in the name of some strut tower reinforcements, which we have yet to make. That is all to come in a future episode, though. For now, I just want to thank David, Chris, Simon, Xander, and Masa for their help on this little project. Until next time. Thank you for watching this video about the bitter lemon, and remember to subscribe our channel.